let's add a block with its own custom class. Hello everyone, this is Ali Reza. Welcome to the Mentor Code Lab. Today we will talk about the cases that you would need a separate dedicated class for a block. In previous episode, we talked about items having their own class, and in this episode, we will talk about blocks having their own classes. Unlike items, the times that you want to have a dedicated class for a block is much more presented during your life cycle as a mod developer. Normally, each time you have a block that you want to interact with, and that block has a certain functionality in it, normally you would have a dedicated class for that block. To do it, we already added an elevator block that right now is inheriting from the block itself. However, we want to add a special class so that when we jump and we are standing on top of this elevator, we will teleport upwards toward a corresponding elevator block. And when we are sneaking down on the elevator block, we will teleport down on another elevator block that is sitting below us. For that, we have to add our own class for elevator block. Now, this class obviously extends from block, and pay attention when you are choosing the block, make sure that you import the correct class. We want the net Minecraft block. Obviously, we need to create constructor matching super. Now, when we middle mouse click on the block, we open the block class. And if we look into the structure of the block class, we can find few methods here that are really interesting. The ones that we need is stepped on, and I think it's on land upon because we have another one that is called on land. But if you take a look at this, it says called when the entity lands on the block. And if we check on entity land, the one below the on land upon, it says called after the entity lands on the block. Basically, this fires first, then this one is being fired. And we want to have it's this guy. So let's take a look and see how we can handle these two events in such a way that our elevator would work. The first one on stepped upon. Now we don't want to call this super. Here we say if the entity that is player. Basically, if we are not player, just return. We don't have anything to do. Then we want to make sure we are on the correct side of the world. So if it is client, again, return. We don't have anything else to do. Now that we are player and we are in the server side, we check if entity dot is sneaking. If we are sneaking, it means that we now should look below, find another elevator block, and start thinking about teleportation. So we simply say block pose, looking pose equals to our position right now. Then block state found equals to null. And don't worry, we don't have any block states on the block itself, but we want to have a block state ready. Then we go into a while loop. Remember, we use while when we are not sure how long we will loop through a condition. And this is one of those cases. We are going to look forever until the get y of the looking pose is greater than the word dot get bottom y. So as long as we are above the lowest of the low in the word, we will continue to look. We say looking pose equals to looking pose dot add, and you see that we can add integers. We won't go anywhere on x. We will go down on y, and we will not move on z. So basically we are going down. And then we say block state equals to word dot get block state of the looking position, basically. And then we say if the block state dot get the block itself. equals to this. Means that we are another elevator block. Then we say found equals to the block state. We already found the block, and immediately here, after finding the block, we will break outside of the while loop. So we have two conditions here for getting out of the while loop. One is that we looked all the way down to the bottom of the word and we didn't find anything, or we found the very first elevator below ourselves, and that is when we get outside of this while loop. Here, outside of the while loop, we have two conditions. Either we found any block pose that is the elevator, or we didn't. So we check if found equals to null. Means that if we didn't find anything, then return. We don't have any blocks below ourselves that is an elevator. Otherwise, we say entity.teleport. We want to teleport the entity.getX, comma, the looking pose that we got that get y, but we add 1 to it, so we sit on top of the block. If we didn't add this plus 1, we will get stuck inside the elevator block. And entity dot get z, and finally the last one we sent in true. And I think we don't have this overload anymore. So double, double, double. Yeah, we don't have this last overload anymore in the recent versions. So now we say world dot play sound on no source at all. Entity dot get stepping position. That's our position. Then the sound events dot item course fruit teleport. Then sound category dot players. The volume here will be 0.5 f. Word dot random dot next float. That's the pitch multiplied by 0.6 f plus 0.9 f. Basically, for the pitch, we are just giving a little bit of randomness into it, and that's it. Basically, if we sneak on our block right now and we have a block below ourselves, we should teleport downward. Now, that's our on, step on, and sneaking. For teleporting upward, we will jump on the block. However, unfortunately, we can't dedicatedly find when we are jumping on a block. However, we have another thing, remember? On landed upon. This is when we are landing on a block. Again, we are checking if we are not the entity, if we are not the server, just return. Otherwise, it's almost the same code from here to here, just not the sneaking part, because right now we know that we jumped and again landed on the block. However, we are going to say if the y of the looking pose is smaller than get top y, so we are below the ceiling, and we are just adding +1 here. We are looking at the pose and we are finding the block. The rest is completely the same code. It looks like our code for this block is done. However, we are not using the class, so Control C. Going to mod blocks, now we are using our elevator block. I added the entry for the translation. I added the entry for mod groups, and you see that I commented lots of blocks because they are for future usage. Same goes here. Lots of models are being commented out. However, for the elevator, we are registering a single tone with cube bottom top. Cube bottom top means that we have 3 textures. Remember, we are registering it as elevator. So we have to have 3 textures: elevator underline top, elevator underline bottom, and elevator underline side. With these 3 textures, the model will be registered correctly. Block tags, I just added the elevator to not hammering and added it to machines, and again added it to needed the stone tool actually here, and added it to pickaxe. For time being, pickaxe will break my machines. Until later down the road, we will add a wrench, and the wrench will break the machines later. So for item tag provider, we don't have anything there. The loot provider, we are dropping ourselves. For the recipe, it's just a wool with 4 ender pearls around it. Now remember, for the wool, we are using item tag.wool. And for criterion, we don't have has item tag. Instead, we have has underlined wool as the string itself. Now, how can you find it? You can use this item tags.wool, find a usage, and look at the usages on everywhere, and just open these and take note wherever it's generating a recipe, you see this criterion has wool. That's the first param for the criterion, so you don't need to look at any deeper than that. You just put this has wool and that's it. Basically, wherever you are using tags, you have to find this criterion string for the tag item. And that's it basically. So nothing else need to be done. I generated my data, so the recipe, the model, everything is working. I also put 3 elevators in the game, one on top of each other on different Y levels. Right now the testing word is ready. I just need to test it. One thing that I can mention before we go into the game is that in these settings, we can say sounds, and here we can say that sound effects. I think it's sounds effect. If you are not sure, you can just come down into Minecraft itself and look at the blocks and find a block that you like. For example, I want the sounds effect of honey. So this is the sounds block sound group, honey. I will copy it. After this settings on the constructor, I hit dot and put the sounds effect of blah. And this means that whenever I put the block down in the board, it will sound like a honey block. Unfortunately, I had done it after running the game, so it won't happen right now. But let's see if our functionality is behaving. So right now, I'm just moving on the block. Nothing happens. I sneak. Nothing happens because we don't have any blocks below that. I will jump, and suddenly you notice that I went up, and the previous one is below that. So now I sneak. I came down, and we are on the first level. To identify them, I will put a block here. I will jump, and you see that that was the block. I will put 2 here, and I will jump. And this is the last one of these 3. Okay? So I'm on the top right now. I sneak, and I came all the way down. And here is the top one. Sneak, and I come down to the very bottom one. That is not the functionality I want. For some reason, we are not breaking as fast as I thought we should. Let's go through the logic. If we are sneaking, then we find the looking pose, going one after another down. And if we find a block, actually, instead of this, we can say instance of elevator block. That should work better because this means the same block, I think. Then we break out of the loop. Let's play again. I may need to change this behavior later and add a little bit of cooldown timer for, I don't know, the sneak, because I may hold the sneak down even for milliseconds and the block is just registering me as sneaking down again and again, and I will drop below each elevator until I reach the lowest one. So basically, the game is behaving correctly, the logic is correct, but because there is no cooldown timer on the input, the let me demonstrate it on the board and tell you what I'm talking about. Okay, see, let's say that we are on this level, okay, and I hold down shift and we should teleport down. However, in this millisecond that I'm holding down shift, I already had teleported here and my shift is still down, so I'm sneaking. So again, this block sees me as a sneak and it will jump down to here. That is totally possible. And if we want to solve such a solution, unfortunately, right now, we don't have any way of handling it until we work with Mixins. Actually, it did work. No, as you see, if I hit it very fast and release it, it works. However, if I keep it down, we go all the way to the bottom one because we don't have any concept of cooldown timer on our inputs. And this is a problem right now because right now I don't have any way of identifying if I'm teleported on a block basically, and if I should cool down until the next teleportation down. For that, we have 2 different options. The very first one is to use mixins and mix in into the input class, use the cooldown timer on a sneak, or we can alternatively put some info on the player and we need to save that info on the player. So whenever we are reaching this line before teleporting down, we would say that, hey, you know what? This is the cooldown timer, and the player will pick and somehow reduce that timer here. However, that's a very bad approach. The correct approach here is to use Mixin. And by using Mixin, we can easily handle this cooldown timer. However, right now, without knowing mixins, this is all we can do. And honestly, I think I will cut this whole thing. And if we extract a method, we can call it teleport down and it starts with lower t. And that's one method. And this one is teleport up. Again, extract method, teleport up. And this one is static actually. Why? I don't know. These are two methods that later we can use even from within mixins and anywhere else. So basically, right now, this is the boilerplate of this method functioning for this elevator. When we are going to work with advanced tutorial series and we start learning about mixins, that is when I will come back here and I will fulfill my wish that says use mixin for cooldown timer on inputs for shift or sneaking. And I will change this behavior. Basically, I will drop the usage of these two methods and I will start sending packets from server to this block. And well, you will see what will happen from there because when we are doing mixins, we will mix in to input system. And from input system, we need to send a packet. Input system sits on the client and we will send a client to server packet. And on the server side, we will receive the packet and we will call these two methods ourselves. And for that, we will make these public. Right now, we are not using them, but later down the road, we will use these methods directly from server when he is receiving a packet and get rid of the usage of these two events. But for time being, this is the boilerplate that shows you how easily you can handle functionality in a block being a teleporter as elevator. However, even if we don't use mixins, the worst case scenario, I will teleport 3 to 4 levels down and then I will go 2 levels up. That's not a very good game experience, but well, it's working right now, you know? So that's it for this episode. If you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on that bell so that when I publish a new video, you will get informed. Have fun, everyone. Bye.